It often starts with good intentions. You wake up early, maybe sip a glass of lemon water, stretch your arms toward the ceiling, and tell yourself, "I'm doing everything right." You've read the articles, you've watched the morning shows, and you've followed the advice of friends and doctors who all say the same thing. Stay active, eat clean, and keep a routine. But what if, hidden within those very routines that promise health, there are habits slowly working against you? What if, after 50, the things you believe are helping your body might quietly be doing the opposite? Straining your heart, exhausting your adrenal glands, or weakening your bones? It's a question that unsettles many people once they finally stop and look closer. Because the truth is, health after 50 is not about doing what seems healthy. It's about doing what's right for your changing body. Let's begin with something as innocent as morning fasting. For years, intermittent fasting has been praised as the miracle of longevity. Skip breakfast, burn fat, live longer. And in younger adults, the benefits can indeed be significant. But after 50, your metabolism no longer functions like it did at 30. Your liver processes glucose more slowly, your cortisol levels naturally rise earlier in the morning, and your muscle tissue, that critical engine of energy and strength, becomes more fragile. When you wake up and push your first meal until noon, thinking you're giving your body a metabolic break, you may actually be sending it into stress mode. Cortisol surges, blood sugar fluctuates, and your body, instead of burning fat, starts breaking down muscle tissue for energy. Over time, this can lead to fatigue, anxiety, and even accelerated aging in your cells. It's not that fasting is bad, it's that it needs to be adapted. What's healthy at 30 may not be healthy at 60. The rhythm of your body has changed, and your routines must evolve with it. Now consider another ritual we often mistake for discipline: early, intense morning exercise. You see it in fitness ads, silver-haired adults running at sunrise, drenched in sweat, proud of their endurance. It looks inspiring, even heroic, but physiologically, your cardiovascular system after 50 doesn't respond the same way to strain. Early mornings are when blood pressure peaks and when your arteries are naturally more constricted. If you lace up your shoes and sprint before your body has even hydrated or warmed up, you're increasing the risk of vascular stress. Tiny micro tears in artery walls, inflammation in the joints, and an unnecessary cortisol rush that lingers for hours. The heart doesn't benefit from being jolted awake. It benefits from being eased into movement. And yet, many people still cling to the no pain, no gain mentality, believing that discomfort equals progress. But for a body that's earned its wisdom, that discomfort could be the signal of something far more serious. Wear, dehydration, even early signs of cardiovascular fatigue that can go unnoticed for years. There's another silent trap: overhydration. Decades of health advice drilled one phrase into our heads: drink 8 glasses of water a day. But your kidneys, particularly after 50, are not the same filtering machines they once were. Overhydration can actually dilute essential electrolytes like sodium and potassium, leading to something called hyponatremia, a condition where your blood becomes too diluted. The symptoms often go unnoticed: dizziness, fatigue, confusion. Some mistake it for low blood sugar or simply aging. But in truth, it's a dangerous imbalance that can even lead to heart rhythm problems. The healthiest hydration routine after 50 isn't measured by glasses, but by signals: thirst, urine color, and activity level. The body knows how to speak. We simply forget how to listen. And then there's sleep, or rather, the pressure to achieve perfect sleep. The wellness industry has turned rest into a kind of competition. We track it with devices, we analyze it with apps, and we obsess over hitting 8 hours every night. But in the second half of life, sleep patterns naturally shift. The hormone melatonin decreases, deep sleep cycles shorten, and waking in the middle of the night becomes normal, not pathological. Yet many over 50s start to panic when their sleep doesn't fit the ideal. They take melatonin supplements or worse, sleeping pills, without realizing how these can suppress natural hormone production or interfere with REM cycles. The danger isn't in waking up at 3 a.m. It's in assuming something is wrong when your body is simply adjusting to a new rhythm. True health comes not from forcing sleep, but from respecting the new tempo of rest your body requires. You see, The real danger of these healthy routines isn't that they are inherently bad, it's that they are followed blindly without adaptation. The same glass of lemon water that feels cleansing in youth can erode tooth enamel over time when stomach acid is already high. The same high-protein diet that built muscle in your 40s can strain your kidneys when filtration efficiency declines. And the same low-fat eating plan that once kept your weight in check can starve your brain of the omega-3s it now desperately needs to preserve memory and mood. Each habit was once good advice, but advice has an expiration date. The body after 50 is a masterpiece in need of gentle maintenance, not aggressive optimization. One of the most overlooked healthy routines is the constant use of supplements. Walk into any pharmacy and you'll see rows of bottles promising longevity, multivitamins, calcium, fish oil, green tea extract, turmeric. And while each can have value, oversupplementation is becoming a quiet epidemic. Many older adults unknowingly create toxic imbalances. Too much calcium leading to arterial calcification, too much vitamin D thickening the blood, or too much iron damaging the liver. The irony is painful. In pursuit of balance, we unbalance ourselves. The body thrives on moderation and diversity, not daily megadoses of the same pill. Your nutrition should come primarily from food, from real, living sources that communicate with your cells in ways no capsule ever can. Even the act of stretching, something universally labeled as good, can backfire when done incorrectly. Static stretches on cold muscles, especially in the early morning, can cause micro-tears in tendons and ligaments. For someone over 50 whose collagen elasticity has already declined, this can mean chronic tightness or even small injuries that never fully heal. A safer approach is dynamic movement, gentle rotations, slow breathing, and progressive motion. Yet many people still hold painful stretches because they were taught decades ago that the longer the better. The truth is your body's wisdom has changed. Flexibility after 50 is about mobility, not force. Another common misstep hides behind the phrase heart healthy. Many people proudly eat low-fat yogurt, diet cereals, or protein bars filled with artificial sweeteners and seed oils. The labels read zero sugar or low cholesterol, but the reality inside those products tells a different story. Artificial sweeteners like sucralose and aspartame can disrupt gut microbiota, the community of bacteria that regulate metabolism, immunity, and even mood. For someone over 50 whose microbiome diversity is already reduced, this disruption can cause bloating, poor nutrient absorption, and even higher blood sugar spikes. And those vegetable oils, often promoted as heart-friendly, are chemically unstable. When heated or exposed to light, they oxidize, producing compounds that inflame the arteries rather than protect them. So while you believe you're feeding your heart, you may actually be feeding silent inflammation, the root of nearly every chronic disease associated with aging. Consider also the glorified detox routines, juice cleanses, extreme fiber regimens, herbal flushes. They promise purification, clarity, and renewal. But after 50, your liver and kidneys are already working harder than ever. Forcing them into overdrive with detox fads can strip away essential nutrients and electrolytes. Some people report feeling lighter, but what they've lost isn't toxins and its stability. Their blood sugar drops, their energy collapses, and their muscles begin to consume themselves for fuel. True detoxification doesn't come from starvation, it comes from nourishment, from feeding the liver with the very compounds it needs to function: antioxidants, minerals, hydration, and steady blood sugar. Your body isn't a machine you can reset with a cleanse, it's a garden that needs daily care. And then, perhaps the most subtle danger of all, routine rigidity. The idea that health is achieved only through perfection, counting every calorie, measuring every step, timing every meal. What starts as discipline often becomes stress, and stress, no matter how noble its source, is still stress. Elevated cortisol erodes bone density, weakens immunity, and stores fat around the abdomen. The healthiest routine is one that brings peace, not pressure. Consistency is important, yes, but so is flexibility, laughter, spontaneity. After 50, health is no longer a race against time, it's a harmony with it. Think of your body like a wise old tree. Its roots, your metabolism, may have slowed. Its branches, your joints and vessels, may be more delicate. but its wisdom, its adaptability, and its quiet resilience are unmatched. The danger lies not in aging, but in misunderstanding it. When we force our bodies to live by the same rules that served us decades ago, we lose touch with the natural intelligence that has kept humans alive through centuries of change. Aging well isn't about copying youth. It's about mastering balance, knowing when to push and when to rest, when to fast and when to nourish, when to move and when to be still. So if you've been waking up every day proud of your discipline, your fasting, your workouts, your supplements, your strict routines, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, how does my body feel? Do I wake up energized or anxious? Do I finish exercise feeling strong or drained? Do I sleep peacefully or chase perfection? These questions are not judgment, they're diagnostics. They are how you reconnect with the signals your body has been whispering long before symptoms appear. Because prevention doesn't begin in the doctor's office, it begins in awareness. Every healthy habit has its context, its season, its moment, but no habit should ever replace intuition. The older we get, the more powerful that intuition becomes, not less. It's the culmination of decades of feedback from the body, the mind, and the spirit. The mistake most people make after 50 isn't neglect, it's excess. Too much rigidity, too much fear, too much reliance on external rules. The truth is your body doesn't want control. It wants cooperation. And that cooperation starts with unlearning the routines that once worked, but now quietly sabotage the very vitality you're trying to protect. That's the paradox of modern health. The harder we try to be perfect, the more fragile we become. But once you learn to see the patterns, the cortisol spikes from skipped breakfasts, the inflammation from artificial oils, the stress from overexertion, you begin to reclaim control. Real control, not the kind that demands perfection, but the kind that listens, adapts, and evolves. Because after 50, true strength doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing better, and often from doing less. The illusion of health is one of the most dangerous forms of self-deception, not because it's born of arrogance, but because it's rooted in good intentions. When we reach a certain age, especially past 50, we begin to define health not by how we feel, but by how well we follow the rules. We drink the green smoothies, we jog in the mornings, we avoid sugar, and we meditate for 15 minutes before bed. It all seems right, disciplined, admirable, even enviable. Yet beneath these routines, something deeper stirs. A quiet fatigue that lingers through the day, a stiffness that refuses to fade, a mind that feels foggier despite all the healthy rituals. And still, most people don't question it. They assume it's just aging. But in reality, it's often a sign that something in the routine, something that once was helpful, has turned harmful. Let's look closely at one of the most praised modern habits, the morning lemon water routine. It's become almost symbolic of health itself, a ritual of purity and detoxification. But few people over 50 realize what it does to the stomach. Lemon is acidic by nature, and as we age, the stomach lining becomes thinner and more sensitive. When you drink a glass of lemon water first thing in the morning, on an empty stomach, you're sending a surge of acid into a digestive system that's been resting all night. The stomach responds by releasing more gastric acid than necessary, which over time can erode the lining and lead to chronic gastritis or reflux. Many people who complain about heartburn or a tight chest after breakfast aren't reacting to food. They're reacting to their morning health ritual. The irony is that lemon water can indeed stimulate digestion, but only when your gut is prepared. That means after food, not before. Now think about fasting. For younger bodies, intermittent fasting can reset insulin sensitivity, promote cellular repair and support weight loss. But after 50, when your liver function naturally slows and your adrenal glands are already managing more stress hormones, fasting can send the wrong signal. The body begins to perceive scarcity, releasing cortisol to keep blood sugar stable. This constant activation of the stress response, even if subtle, weakens the immune system, reduces bone density, and increases inflammation. Many people over 50 who fast religiously to burn fat actually end up losing muscle mass, especially the fast twitch fibers that are vital for balance and strength. They notice it only later, when climbing stairs feels harder or their recovery after exercise slows. The tragedy is that this muscle loss isn't inevitable, it's preventable. But it begins with understanding that a body in its 50s or 60s doesn't need long periods of deprivation. It needs consistent nourishment, timed wisely, but never withheld cruelly. There's also the widespread obsession with detoxing. Juices, herbal teas, colon cleanses, all promising purification. But what exactly are we purifying? Your liver, kidneys, and lymphatic system are designed to detoxify continuously 24 hours a day. When you bombard them with high doses of herbs like senna, cascara, or milk thistle without supervision, you overload their capacity. It's like forcing a filter to process double its limit. Something will eventually clog or fail. And because detox routines often involve restrictive calories, your body becomes vulnerable. The liver lacks the amino acids it needs to produce glutathione, the master antioxidant responsible for neutralizing toxins. So instead of cleansing, you actually weaken the system that cleanses you. The result is fatigue, dizziness, and sometimes even skin outbreaks or mood swings, symptoms that people often misinterpret as toxins leaving the body. In reality, it's the opposite. It's your body crying for stability. Another health practice that becomes risky with age is high-intensity morning workouts. It's been drilled into us for decades. Exercise first thing in the morning, before breakfast, to boost metabolism. Yet, when you're over 50, the cardiovascular system is less elastic, blood vessels are stiffer, and your body needs more time to warm up. Strenuous exercise on an empty stomach spikes adrenaline and cortisol, thickens the blood temporarily, and increases the risk of vascular stress, especially in those with borderline hypertension. Studies show that strokes and heart attacks occur more frequently in the early hours of the morning, precisely when many older adults are pushing their limits on treadmills or running paths. The body simply isn't ready for that kind of demand yet. What it needs is gentle awakening, stretching, walking, breathing, hydration, before intensity. The problem isn't the exercise itself, but its timing. It's not about doing less, it's about doing smarter. Even the way many people over 50 hydrate has become a source of harm. We've been told to drink constantly, flush your system, stay hydrated, never wait for thirst. But this overhydration trend can be dangerous. The kidney's ability to balance fluids declines with age, and drinking excessive water can dilute essential electrolytes, particularly sodium. When sodium drops too low, a condition known as hyponatremia, nerve and muscle function are impaired. Symptoms mimic those of aging: weakness, confusion, irritability, even memory issues. It's one of the most underdiagnosed causes of fatigue in older adults, and it's avoidable simply by trusting the body's natural cues rather than following arbitrary hydration goals. You don't need 8 glasses of water a day. You need enough to quench thirst and maintain balance, and sometimes that means less, not more. Then there's the obsession with clean eating. On the surface, it sounds positive. Eat unprocessed foods, avoid sugar, eliminate toxins. But in practice, for many over 50, it becomes extreme. Entire food groups are cut out, often without medical reason. Carbohydrates are vilified, fats are restricted. People end up with nutritional deficiencies, particularly magnesium, calcium, and B vitamins. For example, magnesium is essential for muscle function and heart rhythm, yet many clean eaters avoid whole grains or legumes that naturally provide it. When magnesium levels fall, you experience cramps, poor sleep, and heart palpitations, all symptoms often mistaken for aging. And when fat intake is too low, hormones suffer. Cholesterol, the very substance most people fear, is actually the building block of hormones like estrogen, testosterone, and cortisol. Cutting too much fat can accelerate hormonal decline, making you feel tired, depressed, and less resilient to stress. What started as a pursuit of purity becomes a slow unraveling of balance. Let's talk about supplements, the invisible risk hiding in bathroom cabinets across the country. After 50, most people add some kind of supplement routine: calcium for bones, vitamin D for immunity, omega-3s for the heart. All beneficial, in moderation. But when combined without professional oversight, these supplements can interact in ways that strain the kidneys or thicken the blood. Calcium supplements, for example, are often overused. The body absorbs only a fraction of the calcium from pills, and the rest can deposit in arteries, contributing to calcification, the very process we're trying to avoid. Vitamin D, when taken in high doses, increases calcium absorption even further, amplifying the risk. Meanwhile, omega-3 supplements, though protective, can interfere with platelet function when taken in excess, slightly increasing bleeding risk. The issue isn't that supplements are bad. It's that they're used like magic potions rather than targeted support. Nature never intended nutrients to come isolated in synthetic concentrations without the balancing context of food. We also need to address a hidden danger in sleep routines. Many adults desperate for rest turn to melatonin supplements, believing them to be natural and harmless. But melatonin is a hormone, not a vitamin. Regular use, especially in high doses, can desensitize your body's natural circadian rhythm. Over time, you might find it harder to fall asleep without it, creating a subtle dependency. Worse, taking melatonin at the wrong time, such as in the early morning or too close to waking, can confuse your internal clock, leading to grogginess, mood changes, and even hormonal imbalances. The best way to restore sleep after 50 isn't through supplementation but through rhythm. Light exposure during the day, a darker environment at night, and reducing screen time before bed. The body still knows how to rest. It simply needs the right conditions to remember. Another health practice often misapplied after 50 is over-reliance on cardio while neglecting strength training. Many people think they're protecting their heart by walking long distances or spending hours on the elliptical, but in doing so, they lose muscle mass, the key to metabolic health. The more muscle you lose, the slower your metabolism becomes, and the harder it is to regulate blood sugar. This in turn increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, even in people who are otherwise lean. Muscles are not just for movement. They're active organs that store glucose, regulate inflammation, and support the immune system. Without them, even healthy diets and regular cardio can't prevent the gradual decline of metabolic stability. So, the next time someone tells you that walking an hour a day is enough, remember, it's not. Not if you want true longevity. The heart needs resistance as much as it needs rhythm. Finally, there's the hidden danger of stress disguised as discipline. Many people over 50 approach health like a military mission, everything measured, every action optimized. But this constant vigilance keeps the body in a state of low-grade tension. Cortisol remains elevated, digestion slows, the immune system weakens. You might not feel stressed in the traditional sense, there's no panic or anxiety, but your body feels it deeply. It manifests as tight shoulders, shallow breathing, and restless sleep. True health cannot exist where there is constant strain. The nervous system needs moments of surrender, of imperfection, of ease. These are the quiet risks of the so-called healthy life. They don't announce themselves dramatically. They creep in, through daily repetition, through unexamined habits, through the quiet pride of doing things right. The body is forgiving, but not forever. At some point, it begins to whisper, through fatigue, joint stiffness, mood swings, or digestive discomfort. Those whispers, if ignored, become symptoms, and those symptoms, if normalized, become conditions. The danger isn't just physical, it's psychological. We become prisoners of our own wellness routines, fearful of missing a day, skipping a step, or eating something wrong. We forget that health isn't a checklist, it's a relationship. If you've ever felt frustrated that you're doing everything right yet not feeling any better, you're not alone. It's not failure. It's misdirection. Your body isn't betraying you, it's trying to protect you. It's asking you to stop chasing youth and start honoring evolution. Because the habits that served you in your 30s and 40s were built for a different physiology. One that recovered faster, processed nutrients differently, and tolerated stress more efficiently. After 50, your internal chemistry changes, your hormones shift, your tissues repair more slowly, your digestive enzymes decline, and your nervous system becomes more sensitive to imbalance. To ignore these changes is to fight against your own biology. And biology always wins. The risk isn't aging, the risk is not adapting. There's a moment when the realization begins to sink in, not as fear, but as clarity. You begin to understand that the human body is not a machine that can be programmed to respond to repetition. It's an ecosystem, delicate and responsive, shifting every year in subtle but profound ways. And when we continue to treat it as if it hasn't changed since our youth, the impact goes far beyond fatigue or discomfort. It starts to reshape our biology, cell by cell, system by system, slowly tilting the balance from resilience toward vulnerability. Imagine waking up every day and unknowingly forcing your body into a minor state of emergency. That's what happens when your healthy morning routine begins with fasting, coffee, and intense exercise. While you may feel alert or energized afterward, beneath that temporary surge lies a cascade of biological strain. Cortisol, your stress hormone, surges to mobilize energy. It tells your liver to release glucose into your bloodstream, increasing blood sugar levels. For younger bodies, insulin quickly responds, balancing this surge. But after 50, the pancreas often becomes less sensitive. And the muscle tissue that would normally absorb that sugar is less active, less efficient. So instead of fueling your cells, the sugar remains in your bloodstream, slowly damaging arteries, nerves, and brain cells. This repeated stress response doesn't just tire you out, it conditions your body to live in survival mode. Over time, that elevated cortisol rhythm erodes muscle protein, suppresses immune function, and thickens visceral fat, the kind that surrounds vital organs. You can't see it, but you can feel it. A subtle pressure around your abdomen, stiffness after meals, a shorter fuse with stress. It's not simply getting older. It's your body adapting to chronic stress, disguised as discipline. Let's follow the path of another invisible danger: overhydration and electrolyte imbalance. When you drink more water than your kidneys can handle, your sodium levels begin to drop. Sodium isn't just a mineral. It's an electrical conductor, keeping your heart rhythm steady and your muscles coordinated. As the concentration of sodium in your blood decreases, your cells begin to swell with excess water. In the brain, that swelling can cause headaches, confusion, and lightheadedness. In the muscles, it leads to cramps, weakness, and poor coordination. You might find yourself feeling clumsy, unsteady, or easily fatigued, chalking it up to age when in truth it's chemistry. For the heart, this imbalance can be particularly dangerous. The electrical signals that keep it beating can falter, causing arrhythmias that range from mild palpitations to life-threatening irregularities. The line between hydration and harm is thin, and it shifts with age. What was once healthy at 30 may now quietly threaten equilibrium. Now imagine the healthy meal that follows: a bowl of low-fat yogurt, a handful of nuts, a drizzle of honey, maybe a scoop of protein powder. It sounds harmless, even virtuous. But for a body over 50, the hormonal landscape has changed. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, hormones that influence everything from blood flow to muscle tone, have declined. These hormones also help regulate how fats and sugars are metabolized. When you strip fat from your diet to protect your heart, you often remove the very nutrients that stabilize hormones. Omega-3s, for example, found in fatty fish, eggs, and olive oil, are crucial for reducing inflammation and maintaining cognitive function. Without them, your brain begins to lose its natural insulation. Memory feels foggier, concentration becomes harder, and the heart, deprived of its anti-inflammatory shield, becomes more susceptible to plaque buildup. You start to see the pattern. It's not one mistake that hurts you, but the accumulation of small, healthy errors that quietly corrode vitality over time. Let's go deeper into the bloodstream where the true story unfolds. When cortisol remains elevated and insulin sensitivity declines, inflammation begins to take root. Inflammation is the silent architect of aging. It thickens artery walls, slows down circulation, and triggers the immune system to release cytokines, chemical messengers that in excess can damage tissues. These cytokines act like sparks in dry grass, igniting small fires throughout the body, in the joints, the brain, the skin. Arthritis, brain fog, and even wrinkles share the same root cause: chronic low-grade inflammation. And this inflammation is often maintained by the very routines meant to prevent it: daily fasting, over-exercising, undersleeping, and restrictive eating. Consider what happens in the gut, the second brain of the body. Over time, diets heavy in protein powders, artificial sweeteners, and low-fat processed foods alter the balance of gut bacteria. These bacteria influence not only digestion, but also mood, immunity, and even cognitive clarity. When they are disturbed, you might experience bloating, irregularity, or fatigue after meals. But more importantly, the intestinal lining, your first barrier against toxins, becomes compromised. Tiny gaps form, allowing microscopic particles to enter the bloodstream. The immune system, ever vigilant, treats these particles as invaders, launching an inflammatory response. It's called leaky gut syndrome, and it's one of the most common yet misunderstood effects of so-called clean modern diets. For someone over 50, whose immune system is already more reactive, this constant immune activation can lead to autoimmune flare-ups, allergies, or chronic fatigue. Now let's step inside the arteries, the lifelines of the body. Every beat of your heart pushes blood through nearly 60,000 miles of vessels. When those vessels are exposed daily to stress hormones, high blood sugar, and inflammatory molecules, they begin to stiffen. Microscopic cracks appear along their walls. The body, trying to repair them, sends cholesterol as a patch. Over time, those patches become plaques. They narrow the passageways, restricting flow. And though the process is slow, it's steady. Many people don't notice until they feel short of breath climbing stairs or experience mild chest pressure during exertion. They blame it on aging. But the real culprit might be years of misapplied healthy practices that created a biochemical environment ripe for vascular damage. The impact doesn't stop at the physical. The mind begins to mirror the body's imbalance. Chronic cortisol exposure reduces the growth of neurons in the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory and learning. That's why prolonged stress, even from positive routines, can make you forgetful or emotionally flat. You might find yourself reading a page and realizing you didn't absorb a word, or standing in a room wondering what you came for. It's not just distraction, it's neurochemistry. The brain under stress consumes glucose rapidly, and when blood sugar fluctuates wildly due to fasting or poor timing of meals, the neurons suffer. They run out of fuel mid-signal. The result is mental fatigue, that heavy fog that no amount of coffee can lift. And coffee, let's talk about that too. For many, it's the morning anchor, the ritual that begins the day. But when taken on an empty stomach, it intensifies acid production, raises cortisol further, and dehydrates the body. Over years, this constant stimulation of the adrenal glands can lead to what's sometimes called adrenal fatigue, a non-medical term for the body's reduced ability to handle stress. The signs are subtle at first: needing more caffeine to feel alert, feeling drained after small tasks, or struggling to recover after exercise. It's not weakness, it's depletion. The body has been pushed to perform without replenishment for too long. Now think about sleep, the time when the body is supposed to repair. When your routines are filled with stimulants, stress hormones, and late-night exposure to screens, your circadian rhythm loses its natural rhythm. You might still sleep 7 hours, but the quality of that sleep declines. The deep restorative stages become shorter. Growth hormone, essential for tissue repair, is released in smaller amounts. That's why you might wake up technically rested but still tired. Over time, poor quality sleep accelerates almost every aspect of aging: muscle loss, weight gain, insulin resistance, even memory decline. The mind becomes a mirror of exhaustion. The cumulative effect of all these small imbalances is not immediate. It builds like sediment in a river, layer by layer, silently shaping the landscape of your health. By the time symptoms appear, persistent fatigue, inflammation, mild hypertension, or pre-diabetes, the foundation has already shifted. But because the cause is hidden within healthy habits, few people ever trace it back. They just assume it's inevitable. But aging in its natural form is not meant to feel like decay. It's meant to feel like transformation, a steady refinement of energy, wisdom, and awareness. The reason so many people over 50 feel older than they are is not because of time but because of misalignment. Their routines, their very definition of health, no longer match the reality of their bodies. The routines have become rituals of stress. Think of the body as a symphony. Every organ is an instrument: the heart, the lungs, the brain, the gut. In youth, they play loudly and fast, full of tempo and intensity. But as we age, the music slows, deepens, and becomes more deliberate. Health, at that stage, isn't about keeping the same rhythm. It's about learning to conduct differently, to listen to pauses, to soften crescendos, to protect the harmony. When we try to force the same rhythm we played decades ago, we break the flow. The instruments strain, and one by one the notes begin to falter. You see it in the way people push themselves at the gym, ignoring the body's quiet signals. You see it in the way they measure every calorie but overlook joy. You see it in the restless nights that follow days filled with wellness routines that leave no room for rest. The body's wisdom is patient, but it's not infinite. Eventually, it demands attention, and that demand often comes in whispers before it roars. A slower recovery after workouts, a dull ache behind the eyes, a sudden aversion to certain foods, a deep sigh at the end of the day. These are not inconveniences, they're conversations. The body is speaking, but too often we drown it out with more rules, more structure, more health. When you finally pause to listen, really listen, you begin to see that the path to health after 50 isn't about tightening control. It's about releasing it. It's about understanding that vitality no longer comes from doing more, but from doing what aligns with who you've become. Because every cell in your body still remembers balance. It's simply waiting for you to stop overriding it. This is the impact of modern wellness, not visible in a single day or week, but written quietly across years of effort, devotion, and misunderstanding. Yet within that realization lies a powerful truth. If your habits can silently harm you, then awareness, even late, can just as powerfully heal you. There's something profoundly liberating about realizing that health doesn't have to be a battle, that your body isn't your enemy, and that vitality doesn't depend on strictness or deprivation, but on understanding. The moment you stop forcing your body to fit into old systems and begin listening, really listening, something shifts. The fatigue, the tension, the sense of falling behind time, all begin to soften, because what your body needs after 50 isn't more control, it's cooperation. It needs rhythm, not rigidity. It needs nourishment, not punishment. And it needs the kind of wisdom that only years of experience can bring. The wisdom to know when less truly is more. Let's start by rewriting the mornings, the sacred beginning of the day where many healthy mistakes begin. Instead of fasting until noon, start by nourishing yourself early but gently. The body after 50 wakes with higher cortisol levels. Food doesn't harm that rhythm, it harmonizes it. Something simple, balanced and light like oatmeal with walnuts and berries, or a boiled egg with avocado and whole grain toast, can calm the nervous system and stabilize blood sugar. You'll notice the difference not just in energy but in clarity. Your mind feels steadier, your emotions more grounded. You're not running on adrenaline anymore. You're running on fuel. If you love your morning exercise, keep it, but make it a ritual of awakening, not aggression. Begin with movement that opens rather than shocks the system. A 5-minute walk in the sunlight before anything else. Gentle rotations of the neck and shoulders. Breathing that reminds the body, you're safe. If you want intensity, save it for later in the day, when your muscles are warm, your joints lubricated, and your cardiovascular system ready. Exercise should never feel like punishment. It's a conversation with your heart, one that should end with gratitude, not exhaustion. Hydration, too, becomes an act of intuition. Instead of forcing liters of water, drink when your body asks. You can tell by the color of your urine. Pale yellow means perfect balance. You can tell by your lips, your skin, your thirst. Trust those cues. They're ancient. They come from a time before health trends existed, when humans simply listened. And don't fear a pinch of sea salt in your water once or twice a day. It replenishes the sodium your nerves and muscles depend on. The goal isn't flushing your system. It's supporting it. Sleep, perhaps the most misunderstood routine of all, requires compassion. You don't have to sleep 8 hours straight to be healthy. That's a myth built on averages, not individuals. Some of the healthiest older adults sleep in 2 phases: a few hours early in the night, a quiet, wakeful period, then a return to rest before dawn. Instead of fighting those moments of wakefulness, embrace them. Dim the lights, breathe slowly, read something soothing, or simply reflect. It's not insomnia, it's your body's way of syncing with a slower, wiser rhythm. And if you take melatonin, consider tapering it gradually. Replace it with natural triggers: morning sunlight, consistent bedtime, magnesium-rich foods like almonds or spinach. Over time, your body will remember how to produce rest on its own. Diet doesn't have to be strict either. The word diet itself has been twisted into meaning restriction, when its root, dieta, actually means way of life. At 50, your way of life should center on balance, not control. Instead of fearing carbs, choose better ones: oats, quinoa, beans, fruits. They don't just feed your energy. They feed your microbiome, the living ecosystem inside your gut that communicates directly with your brain and immune system. Give it diversity, color, and fiber. And when it comes to fats, remember that quality matters more than quantity. A drizzle of olive oil, a handful of walnuts, or a slice of salmon offers more protection to your heart than any low-fat product ever could. These fats carry anti-inflammatory compounds that soothe your arteries, lubricate your joints, and brighten your mind. The same principle applies to supplements. Simplicity over excess. Think of supplements as assistants, not replacements. You don't need an army of bottles. You need a few reliable allies. A good multivitamin tailored to your age, perhaps vitamin D3 if your blood levels are low, and omega-3s if your diet lacks fish. Everything else should be guided by blood tests and medical advice, not marketing. And remember, the body absorbs nutrients best when they come from food. An orange's vitamin C arrives with bioflavonoids that enhance its effect. Spinach's magnesium comes with chlorophyll that calms inflammation. These relationships matter. Nutrition isn't chemistry, it's symphony. Now let's address movement, the kind that heals instead of hurts. As we age, we often think we need to slow down entirely, when in truth we need to move differently. Instead of chasing intensity, focus on consistency. Walk after meals. 10 minutes is enough to stabilize blood sugar and improve digestion. Practice balance. Stand on one leg while brushing your teeth, or lift your heels gently while waiting for the kettle to boil. These small acts strengthen stabilizer muscles, reducing the risk of falls and preserving independence. Add resistance training twice a week, even if it's just bodyweight squats. Push-ups on the wall or light dumbbells. Muscle is the fountain of youth. It keeps metabolism alive, protects bones, and guards against diabetes. You don't need to lift heavy. You just need to lift something. Then there's breathing, perhaps the most overlooked medicine. Stress and discipline make us forget how to breathe fully. Most adults over 50 breathe shallowly, into the chest, starving the brain and organs of oxygen. Try this. Once a day, sit quietly, place one hand on your abdomen, and breathe deeply until your belly rises. Exhale slowly through your nose. 10 cycles can lower blood pressure, slow the heart, and balance your nervous system. It's simple, ancient, and free. What about routines? Those daily rituals that once gave structure, but now create stress. The secret is rhythm, not rigidity. Health thrives on predictability, but only when it feels natural. You don't need to eat at the exact same minute each day. You just need to keep your body's cues consistent. Breakfast within an hour of waking. Dinner at least 3 hours before bed. And don't fear occasional flexibility. Life's unpredictability is part of what keeps your stress hormones adaptable. Routine should support life, not control it. When it comes to mental health, one of the most healing practices is letting go of guilt. Guilt for missing a workout, for indulging in dessert, for resting instead of optimizing. The pursuit of health without joy is a disease of its own. Laughter lowers cortisol, strengthens immunity, and improves heart rate variability. A key measure of resilience. Joy is not indulgence, it's biochemistry. And here's something profound. Your body can still heal, deeply, beautifully, and completely, even after years of imbalance. The human organism is astonishingly forgiving. Within days of correcting a single harmful habit, inflammation markers begin to drop. Within weeks, your blood pressure improves, your energy rises, and your digestion steadies. Within months, arteries become more flexible, insulin sensitivity increases, and even your skin begins to glow differently. The body doesn't hold grudges. It only asks for understanding. If you've been fasting too long, reintroduce breakfast gently. If you've been over-exercising, replace one intense session with yoga, tai chi, or swimming. If you've been chasing hydration, add minerals to your water and trust your thirst. If you've been living by supplements, simplify. If you've been fearing sleep interruptions, welcome them as part of your natural rhythm. Each small correction is an act of healing, not just physically but psychologically. Because every time you choose balance over control, you remind yourself that aging isn't loss, it's refinement. The beauty of awareness is that it doesn't just prevent disease, it transforms your experience of life. When your body is in balance, your mind becomes calmer, your emotions steadier. You stop chasing health and begin to live it. Meals become enjoyable again. Movement feels like celebration, not obligation. Rest feels deserved, not stolen. And you realize that the vitality you were trying to achieve was never in the supplements, or the strict routines, or the fasting windows. It was in the quiet cooperation between you and your body. The relief comes not from avoiding mistakes, but from understanding them. Every healthy habit that backfired was simply an attempt to care for yourself. And that intention is noble. You were never wrong for wanting to feel better. You just needed to learn the language of your changing body, a language written in patience, softness, and observation. When you begin to treat your body as an ally instead of a project, everything changes. You stop punishing it for being tired. You start asking why. You stop pushing it to perform. You start asking how it feels. You stop fearing age. You start seeing it as the greatest teacher of all, one that rewards you not with perfection but with peace. And in that peace lies true health, not the kind that demands applause, but the kind that sustains life quietly, steadily, every day. The kind that lets you wake up not with anxiety about your routine, but with gratitude for your breath, your strength, your awareness. Because after 50, the goal is no longer to add more years to your life, it's to add more life to your years. There comes a point when the pursuit of health shifts from fear to wisdom. It's the moment you stop seeing wellness as something you have to chase and begin to understand it as something you can cultivate, quietly, daily, patiently. You realize that the same discipline that once drove you can now destroy you if it isn't softened by compassion. And that's the secret truth about health after 50. It's not about fighting age, but aligning with it. It's about entering a new chapter where your choices are no longer motivated by fear of decline, but by respect for the miracle of continuation. The power you hold now is greater than the one you had in your youth because it comes from awareness. You've learned that your body is not fragile, it's responsive. Every cell listens to your choices, your thoughts, your rhythms. It's not punishing you for getting older, it's simply adapting, waiting for you to adapt with it. The aches, the slower mornings, the changes in sleep, these are not signs of weakness. They are reminders that your biology has matured. Like a tree that grows deeper roots, your body asks for different nourishment now, not intensity but depth, not control but connection. You are not behind, you are evolving. And the very habits that once harmed you can now become your tools for renewal once you reshape them with understanding. Start with food, the most powerful form of medicine you will ever touch. Every bite you take is information. It tells your cells what to do. And when you choose foods that speak the language of vitality, colorful vegetables, omega-rich fats, clean proteins, fermented foods, your body listens and responds. Inflammation begins to calm, digestion finds its rhythm again, and energy starts to flow more evenly. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. You don't need to count calories, you just need to count nourishment. Ask yourself before each meal, will this food help me heal, or will it make my body work harder? That question alone can rewrite your health story. The same applies to movement. The goal now is not to push your body to exhaustion, but to help it express its strength. Strength training is not vanity, it's survival. Every time you challenge your muscles, you remind your bones to stay dense, your blood sugar to stay stable, and your heart to stay young. But it doesn't have to be heroic. It can be as simple as carrying your groceries, squatting to pick up a child, or walking uphill. Each act of movement is an act of youth. Each breath that deepens is a signal to your body. I am still here. I am still capable. And then there's the mind, the quiet director behind every biochemical reaction. The mind doesn't age the same way the body does, but it does mirror how you treat it. If you fill your thoughts with anxiety about decline, your body hears that tension. It produces cortisol, tightens blood vessels, and prepares for threat. But when you fill your mind with curiosity, purpose, and gratitude, the body hears that too. It releases serotonin, relaxes arteries, and boosts immune function. The chemistry of hope is real, measurable, trackable, powerful. This is why purpose is not just philosophy, it's physiology. People who live with meaning, whether through creativity, service, faith, or connection, literally live longer. Their cells show slower aging. Their hearts recover faster. Their sleep is deeper. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be yours. It can be tending a garden, mentoring someone younger, or simply taking a morning walk to watch the sunrise. The body thrives when it knows why it's alive. And that sense of purpose, once awakened, transforms how you treat yourself. You no longer rush to fix your body because you finally understand it was never broken. It was communicating. Those years of stiffness, fatigue, or imbalance weren't punishment. They were messages. And you are finally fluent in their language. The empowerment that comes from this realization is quiet but profound. You begin to notice things that others overlook. How your breathing deepens when you eat calmly. How your shoulders drop when you walk outside. How your digestion improves when you stop multitasking during meals. Health becomes less about control and more about awareness. And that awareness ripples outward, into your relationships, your work, your rest. You become calmer, kinder, more patient with others, because you have finally learned patience with yourself. Even the way you age begins to change. You stop trying to hide it, and instead you inhabit it. You understand that the lines on your face are not failures of collagen, but proof of life. That the silver in your hair is not a loss of youth, but the light of endurance. Every stage of your body tells a story, and now you tell it consciously. You move differently. You rest with intention. You eat with gratitude. You breathe as if every inhale is proof that you're still a student of this extraordinary thing called living. And the most remarkable part? Your body responds to that reverence. Science confirms what intuition already knows. The mind-body connection is real, intimate, and lifelong. When you cultivate calm, your heart rate variability improves, your immune cells grow stronger, and your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, produce energy more efficiently. When you choose peace over perfection, your biology thanks you. This is the part of the journey where prevention turns into creation. You're no longer just trying to avoid disease, you're actively building health. You're creating an internal environment where healing becomes your default state. You start to notice small miracles. Your skin looks more vibrant, your digestion more stable, your sleep deeper, your thoughts clearer. And it's not from supplements or strict plans, it's from alignment. You've stopped fighting your biology and started partnering with it. There's a deeper emotional healing that comes with this too, the kind that modern wellness rarely talks about. Forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for the years you didn't know better, for the diets you followed that made you miserable, for the routines that drained you, for the self-criticism that kept you tense. All of it was just part of the path. You weren't failing. You were learning. Health is not a straight line. It's a spiral, looping back with new understanding each time. Once you forgive yourself, something incredible happens. Your nervous system relaxes. The body's repair mechanisms finally activate. The parasympathetic system, known as the rest and digest state, begins to dominate again. Blood flow to your organs improves. Nutrient absorption increases. Inflammation decreases. You heal not because you found a new rule to follow, but because you've released the pressure to be perfect. This is what aging well truly means, not defying time, but mastering it. You realize that vitality doesn't come from endless youth, but from presence. You stop living in the future, chasing what might go wrong, and start living in the moment, embracing what is going right. You become less interested in what others think of your routines, and more interested in how they make you feel. You notice the taste of your food, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the calm that comes from slow breathing. These small sensations, once overlooked, become sacred, because they are proof of life, and life in this stage is meant to be savored, not managed. From here on, your routines are no longer about avoiding danger. They are about cultivating vitality. You wake with gratitude, not fear. You move to feel alive, not to burn calories. You eat to nourish, not to restrict. You rest because you deserve restoration, not because you've earned it through exhaustion. You begin to live in rhythm with your nature, not against it. And that rhythm, unique to you, becomes your greatest source of freedom. You'll still encounter advice, of course, articles, trends, new discoveries that claim to hold the key to longevity. Some will be true, some misleading, but now you have something better than any trend: discernment. You'll read a claim and ask, does this align with how my body feels? You'll try new things with curiosity, not desperation. You'll respect science, but also intuition, because both have their place, and together they make you unstoppable. In the end, health after 50 is not about fear of dying, it's about the art of living. It's about realizing that the power to heal has always been within you, waiting for your permission to unfold. The breath you take, the food you choose, the thoughts you entertain, all of it becomes medicine when chosen with awareness. And that awareness is your greatest strength. You are not fragile, you are resilient, you are not declining, you are deepening. And this time in your life, this sacred second act, is your opportunity to practice health not as survival, but as celebration. You've spent decades learning what doesn't work. Now you get to master what does. So let this be your new routine. Wake gently, eat kindly, move wisely, rest deeply, forgive freely. And above all, stay curious about yourself. Because curiosity, as not perfection, is what keeps the body young, the mind sharp, and the spirit alive. Aging is not the end of vitality, it's the unveiling of it. You are not losing energy, you are learning how to use it better. You are not losing time, you are finally learning how to live within it. And the best part, your body is listening. It always has been. Now, at last, you are too.